Meeting to order of the Omaha Planning Board. The Planning Board members that are here today are John Sullivan, David Rosacker, Chris Rupert, Jorge Sotolongo, Patrick Morris, Vice Chair, and I'm Michael Pate, Chairman. Members of the city staff that are in attendance today or will be in attendance today are David Fanslaw, Planning Director, Eric England, Assistant Planning Director, Mike Carter, Current Planning Manager, Jennifer Taylor of the City Law Department, and Kathy Epperson, our Recording Secretary. Our rules of procedures are as follows. Notice of this hearing has been published. Copies of today's agenda are located in the table in front of us. You're welcome to come down and pick one up. The cases on the consent agenda will be heard first. Consent cases have been recommended for layover, have already been heard, or are perceived by the Planning Board to be non-controversial. Therefore, they will be read and voted on without the opportunity for you to state your opinion on the case. If you wish to have this case discussed during this hearing, you may remove the case from the consent agenda. To do so, when each case is read, I will ask if anyone wants the case removed for discussion. If you do, please stand up and say that you want the case removed. This case will then be heard after we vote on the cases that remained on consent. When the case is heard, you will have the opportunity at that time to come to the podium, clearly state your name and address, and give your testimony at that time. When hearing cases on the regular agenda, the board will first hear from the applicant, and after the applicant states their case, we will hear from the proponents, and then we will hear from the opponents. After both sides are heard, the public hearing will be closed, and no additional testimony will be permitted unless a board member requests additional information. When at the podium, please clearly state your name, address, and who you are represented for the record. Your testimony is very important to us. In the interest of time and courtesy to the others, please be short and to the point. We will try to limit each case to 10 minutes. Those directly involved in cases, please speak first. We request that large groups select a spokesperson to represent that group, therefore eliminating repetitive testimony. When giving testimony, please provide new information and try not to repeat what has previously been said. We do ask that all speakers and others be treated with courtesy and with respect. In that regard, please remain silent while seated and please turn off your cell phones. Our decision to approve, deny, or continue a case made here today will be forwarded to the City Council for another public hearing, and final disposition by City Council. Conditional use permits are an exception to this rule. The board decision made here today on conditional use permits are final and not forwarded on to City Council. Lastly, upon the advice of the Law Department, all communications to the board members from attorneys or other interested parties should be transmitted through the Planning Department so that they are made part of the public record. The department will then transmit all that information to the board as well as to the rest of the public. A current copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act can be found in the white binder in this room. There is just a note for the agenda. One item has been withdrawn completely, and that is item 20 on the agenda, and that was case C826037, the Vibe Living LLC, and the request was approval of a special use permit to allow assisted living in the R4 district, and the location was 16816 and 16806 Ontario Street. So that case will not be heard at all on the agenda, okay? So first I'm going to read the cases that are still on the agenda for approval, and then I'll read the ones that are on for layover. And again, if you wish to have any of those cases removed so that we can discuss them, please raise your hand and we'll remove them and then hear them in a right order. So the first case on consent for approval is item number 5, case C10-26012, C11-26011. The applicant is Mark Sanford Group. It is on consent for approval, and the request is rezoning from HI to R7 with approval of the PUR, Planned Unit Redevelopment Overlay District, and this was laid over from our January 7, 2026 meeting. The location is 2646 Y Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay. Next is item 13, case C10-26038. The applicant is Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha and Hector Hernandez. It's on consent for approval. The request is rezoning from HI to R7. The location is southeast of 14th and Ohio Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 14, case C10-26033. The applicant is Paul and Tara Wilson. On consent for approval, the request is rezoning from R2 to R4, and the location is 5510 North 83rd Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 15, case C10-26030. The applicant is ConAgra Brands, Inc. On consent for approval, the request is approval of the ACI 1 Area of Civic Importance Overlay District. The location is southeast of Jones Street and ConAgra Drive. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 16, KC 1123-142. Applicant is In Common Housing Development on consent for approval. Request is approval of a major amendment to the PUR, Planned Unit Redevelopment Overlay District. The location is 2911 Poppleton Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 17, KC 1026-035. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. It's Timur Conacher. The request is approval of the MCC Major Commercial Corridor Overlay District. The location is 5122 North 90th Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 18, KC 1026-036. Applicant is Brett Wunder on consent for approval. Request is approval of the ACI 1 Area of Civic Importance Overlay District. The location is 6016 Maple Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay, next is item 21, KC 826-039. The applicant is Emmanuel Fellowship on consent for approval. The request is approval of the special use permit to allow a daycare general in the R5 district. The location is 8345 Crown Point Avenue. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 23, KC 7-26031. Applicant is Byron Langenfeld on consent for approval. The request is approval of a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R4 district. The location is 18521 Locust Street. Would anyone like to have this one removed? Next is item 24, KC 7-26032. Applicant is Cassandra Shea on consent for approval. Request is approval of a conditional use permit to allow an accessory dwelling unit in the R2 district. The location is 2242 South 84th Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay, that completes our cases that are on consent for approval. I'll now read the 3 cases that are on consent for layover. And same thing, if you wish to have one of these removed, you can certainly do so. Raise your hand and let me know. First one is item 6, KC 826-003. The applicant is Home Woven. It's on consent for layover. The request is approval of a special use permit to allow general offices in the HI district. Property is located within an ACI, Area of Civic Importance Overlay District. This was laid over from our January 7, 2026 meeting. Location is 2332 South 24th Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Next is item 7, KC 898-213. The applicant is Earhart Griffin and Associates on consent for layover. The request is approval of a major amendment to a special use permit to allow scrap and salvage services in the GI district. Portions of the property are located within the FF Flood Fringe Overlay District. This was laid over from our November 5th, 2025 meeting. Location is 6030 South 60th Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? And the last one on here is item 25, KC 1426-049. Applicant is Planning Board. It's on consent for layover. The request is approval of the vacation of a portion of State Street right-of-way from Raven Oaks Drive to Willett Street. Would anyone like to have this removed? Okay. That concludes all of our cases that are on consent, either for approval or layover. And I would entertain a motion to first approve those cases that are on consent for approval.
Motion to approve cases number 5, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 23, and 24.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris,
Yes.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Rupert,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
approved 6-0.
thank you. Next are the 3 cases on for layover. Need a motion to approve those cases.
Motion to lay over agenda items number 6, 7, and 25. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Sotolongo,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Rupert,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
approved 6-0.
thank you. All right, next we have 4 items that are on the agenda for our administrative portion of the meeting, and these items there's no public testimony on these items. So we'll just go through them for the record. And the first one is item 1, which is case C10-25-269, C12-25-270. The applicant is Holy Name Housing Corporation. The request is final plat approval of Tukey Heights, replat 1, a subdivision inside city limits with rezoning from R435 to R5. The location is west of 36th Street and Brown Streets. Eric?
Yeah, so this final plat creates 35 single-family lots and 3 outlots. The preliminary plat was recommended for approval by Planning Board on November 5th and approved by City Council January 13th. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from R435 to R5 and approval of the final plat subject to addressing the 2 conditions in the report prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve the rezoning from R435 to R5 and approval of the final plat, subject to addressing the 2 conditions in the recommendation report prior to forwarding the request to City Council.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert?
yes,
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Next item is item 2, case C10-25-221, C12-25-222. The applicant is Black Bear Holdings LLC. The request is final plat approval of the Preserve Second Edition, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from AG to DR. The location is southwest of 222nd and I Streets. Eric?
Yeah, so this final plat creates 60 single-family acreage lots and 10 outlots. The final plat is consistent with the approved preliminary plat, which was before the Planning Board November 5th and approved by City Council on December 16th. There were several items that had been previously worked out with the applicant and Planning and Public Works Department, so we appreciate that coordination. That being said, staff recommends approval of the rezoning from AG to DR and approval of the final plat subject to addressing the 2 conditions in the report prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve rezoning from AG to DR, excuse me, and approval of final plat subject to addressing the 2 conditions of the staff report prior to sending to City Council for final action.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert?
yes,
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Next is item 3, case C10-25-217, C12-25-218. The applicant is Choice Homes. The request is final plat approval of Serenity Estates Villas, formerly Serenity Estates Townhomes, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from DR to DR and R5. The location is 2240 Skyline Drive. Eric?
Yeah, so this is, the final plat's under a different name, as you had mentioned, Serenity Estates Villas. It involves 12 single-family residential lots and 1 outlot. I didn't mention it in the pre-meeting, but there was a minor tweak to our recommendation of approval. So if you received a paper copy, I don't think anyone did, that has changed. The electronic version is correct. So if you're using that, please take note. It was just some of the wording to clarify. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from DR to DR and R5 and approval of the final plat subject to addressing the 2 conditions in the report before City Council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion for the approval of the rezoning from DR to DR and R5. Approval of the final plat subject to submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement and updated final plat Mylars addressing the access note described in condition 2 prior to forwarding the request to City Council for final action.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rupert?
yes,
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes the whoops. One more. Oh, yeah, Westwood. Yeah, Westwood. Item 4, case C10-21-209, C12-21-210. Westwood Solutions LLC is the applicant. The request is final plat approval of State and Highway 133 addition, lots 5 and 6, a subdivision outside city limits with approval of rezoning from AG and GI to GI. The location is northwest of State Street and Blair High Road. Eric, please.
Yeah, so this is the next in final phase of this development. out along Blair High Road and State Street, and between State Street and Rainwood Road. The previously approved preliminary plat was back in February 7th, 2023, but there's been different final plat phases since then. This creates two lots, and staff recommends approval of the rezoning from AG and GI to GI, and approval of the final plat subject to the two conditions in the recommendation report prior to City Council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the rezoning from AG and GI to GI and approval of the final plat subject to the two conditions in the recommendation report prior to forwarding to City Council.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me on that one. All right, that concludes our administrative part of the agenda. So we'll move into the regular agenda items that are left on the agenda. And I'm going to take cases, first ones are on case number 8, but I'm going to take 8, 11, and 19 together. They're the same applicant, same location, but we'll talk about them individually and vote on them individually. But we're going to take them all together. So the first one is case 8, item 8, case C326044. The applicant is Neeraj Agrawal. The request is approval of an amendment to the future land use element of the city master plan from industrial to high density residential. The location is southwest of 25th Avenue and Center Street. May we hear from the applicant, please?
You can read all the others too. We'll have one public.
We read them all together?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll read all of them together. That way you guys don't have to come back up individually for this. The other one is item 11, KC 1026-042, C1226-043, same applicant. Request is preliminary and final plat approval of 2501 Center Street, a minor plat inside city limits with rezoning from R7 and HI to R7 and R8, location west of 25th Avenue and Center Street. And then item 19 is case C1126-045, same applicant. Request is approval of the PUR of a PUR, Planned Unit Redevelopment Overlay District. Location is west of 25th Avenue and Center Street. Now we will hear from the applicant, please.
Good afternoon, Joe Dutlows, 10836 Old Mill Road.
Good afternoon, Joe Sanyuk, AO 4610 Dodge Street.
Okay, thank you.
We're here representing the applicant.
What are your roles with regards to the development?
I'm the civil engineer.
Civil?
I'm the architect and landscape architect.
Okay, great. Any questions for them at all? Okay, great, thank you. Are there any other proponents that wish to speak on this case, on any of these cases? Okay, are there any opponents? Please come forward. And again, name and address for the records, and if you'd let us know which case or cases you're specifically, if maybe it's all, maybe they're.
Got it. My name is Jack Suter. Address is 1601 Dodge Street with McGrath North Law Firm. I'm here on behalf of the neighbor to the northeast of the proposed development, Central Iowa Ready Mix, whose address is 2410 Center Street. First off, we would just like to state that we are not opposed to development and understand the city's goals of infill, affordable housing. However, we definitely have major concerns with the proposed high-density residential uses as it relates to the heavy industrial uses nearby. So I've printed out a map further illustrating our concerns.
On top, there's a scroll.
There we go.
Zoom out. There you go.
And so the proposed development is right here. Our property is to the northeast here. Concrete mixing and transporting plant. And on peak usages, we have about 120 aggregate dump trucks, 20 cement tankers, and 240 concrete mixers that will all come off the highway through Dorcas Street and through South 26th Street to the entrance of our property. And our concern is that the access point for the 180 stalls of parking for the residential development is also on this 26th Street. And so we obviously view this as a major concern, not only for vehicular traffic, but I know that about 400 to 500 residents are going to be moving in here, many of which will include families. I know the proposed development also included a playground, so we're definitely worried about our trucks and all the traffic that's going to be increased through this area.
Is that the only ingress and egress points that you have to your location?
Yes, I'm Chris.
Name it. Yeah, go ahead. Name
I'm
it.
Chris Rogers, 2410 Center Street, with Concrete Supply, doing business as Central Iowa Ready Mix.
Okay. And that's the only access points.
That is the only access point we have. A lot of truck traffic coming in and out of there. And there's no way to get out on Center. That's all residential, and just really worries us the traffic and the kids in the neighborhood.
Center Street is weight restricted.
And the row houses they're proposing along our fence line is even worse because those have to cross our truck traffic coming in and out of there. There's no way
Across
around
Center
that.
Street.
Yeah. Because there's a dead end road going to the north there that they're proposing putting row houses along that area, which really is not a good place for row houses.
Has the applicant met with you at all to talk about what he's
We
planning?
attended the neighborhood meeting last week and didn't go into quite as much depth, as how many trucks are passing by, but we did have concerns regarding the ingress and egress, and essentially received a broad statement that this isn't a solution. They didn't give us a specific solution, but said they're going to do everything they can to work with the city to mitigate it.
Anything else you'd like to add at all?
And the whole corridor is heavy industrial. Even to the south of us, there's more truck traffic down south, and a couple other heavy industrial businesses there. It's just gonna put a lot of families in danger in that area, I believe.
What do you estimate your ingress and egress truck traffic is in a day, both aggregate and the mixers?
So on a busy day in the summer, we're running probably, you got 250 trucks coming out, and they got to come back in and get reloaded. So that plant's capable of loading 250 yards an hour, which is 25 trucks an hour.
Wow.
And that's not bringing in raw material. We got to bring in raw material to produce this.
That's in addition to that.
That's in addition. So you got roughly another 140 to 135 aggregate haulers coming in, plus the cement tankers that come in to unload raw cement.
Is there anything operating on that site right now? Do you know?
Is what?
Anything operating on that site right now? I know it's an old.
Yeah, I mean, we're running out of there today, but
The proposed site for the new project.
It's abandoned, isn't it?
oh yeah, that's an abandoned area.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, the development would be an improvement to that area for aesthetics, looks, right? But there is a little bit of a danger to it. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I might call you back up, so we'll see. Any other proponents or opponents that wish to speak on this? Okay, Joe, would you like to come back up and
Sure.
maybe address some of those concerns?
So, yeah, we understand the concern for the truck traffic and the residential. There is currently a traffic study that's underway. We don't have all the results of that back, so we'll wait to see what they would recommend in their report. I would say there is more than one access into this multifamily site to the south. So, yes, you know, the access onto, like, on Dorcas, onto the, what is it, going towards the interstate, that might be shared, but if there's a lot of truck traffic running, you know, there's always the option of entering the site towards the south. You know, I would suspect a lot of the traffic volume from the multifamily would be at peak hours, maybe in the morning, after work. So during the day, you know, when they're running a lot of truck vehicles or truck traffic, it might not, you know, coincide with our traffic. On the row houses, all the access on the row houses is coming from the alley on the west side. And then there's drives into each kind of unit. And part of the development, 26th Avenue is going to be improved as well. So there'll be other accesses into the site.
But do you think that the Martha Street and Dorcas and 26th Street will be the main, coming off the interstate there, it's got to be the main entrance and exit point for, I would think.
Are there lights at Martha, Dorcas, and the 27th Avenue in Martha?
Let's see. Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think that-
I don't.
Is
I'm
there?
not sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are.
At 28th and Martha, there is.
28th? Okay.
Yeah, that's Pat.
But you
Okay.
can turn left on 27th Street. Or sorry, you can go north on 27th Street from Martha.
But there's no light on Dorcas there, right?
So will 26th Ave be improved all the way up to Hickory? To connect to Hickory then?
Currently, that's the request. So
Okay. So that does give another option. And where will the cars, where will the tenants park in the townhomes again?
let's see. There's garages into. So each unit would have a 2-car garage, so they would enter from the alley and come into their.
Okay,
their
so they don't
driveway.
enter from 26th Ave, they enter from the alley.
Yep.
You're doing something with that.
And that alley, will that continue all the way to Hickory as well? So from Center to Hickory?
No, the alley, there's a dead end, so
I see.
there'll be an access easement, so what we'll end up doing is making a connection onto 26.
Just so that we can see.
Oops.
No, just pull your, yeah, there you go.
I see, okay,
So yeah, there'll be a through on this drive
I see,
onto 26th Avenue.
okay.
So you are doing a traffic study, though, that would
Correct.
include the truck traffic from the neighbor.
Yes.
So okay, so did you engage for that study to be done, or did someone else?
The developer did, yep.
The developer did?
Yep.
So what do you hope to see out of that traffic study, and what will give you pause for concern if it comes back and shows, you know, validates some of the concerns that were raised by Chris?
Well, I guess if there's some concerns, there should be recommendations in that traffic study, which we would follow, whether it's stop signs or traffic signal or.
And I don't think the traffic study was part of the requirements for this, was it, Eric?
That is, there is a requirement as part of the plat, yeah, so provide for all improvements identified in the final approved traffic study. I don't know the current status or where that's at, but we could have Public Works speak to that if.
Yeah. Ryan, would you come up maybe is he here?
Should we, or, yeah, or we have representation.
Yeah. We have our gentleman from Public Works coming up to address us.
Ryan Haas of the Public Works Department.
So, you know, they're engaging in a traffic study, and you'll get the final results of that as well. And so what do you look for, to address some of the concerns that were raised by Chris?
Yeah, so we'll take the key intersections and have the traffic engineer count and analyze existing conditions under current traffic volumes, and then calculate and add the new trips from this development to those key intersections, and then analyze again for any potential recommendations for changes to traffic control, any potential improvements to mitigate any degradation of level of service, things like that.
So is safety an issue in the traffic study that is usually addressed in a traffic study?
If there's known issues, that's something we can analyze. Usually, for the most part, they're the quantifiable items are things like delay, levels of service, things like that.
And and this traffic study is being done now, I assume?
The very initial scoping has taken place.
Okay, because it seems like the peak time of the truck traffic is during the summer months. So if we're doing it now, we may not get an accurate necessarily picture of the heavy use times. I'm just making an editorial comment here.
That's good information to have. We'll take that under consideration.
Okay.
What do you normally see peak traffic for apartments like this? Time of day?
It's dependent on the site. I mean, they'll do a count for the entire typical peak hours. So typically that's 7 to 9 a.m. for the AM peak and 4 to 6 p.m. for the PM peak. They'll figure out the site-specific peak hour within those times. So it can be something like, for example, 7:45 to 8:45. So they'll take the worst case site-specific for each location, and then on that they'll calculate what typically is the worst case peak hour, and there's a manual. It's a national reference document based on thousands of traffic studies, so they can get a pretty good idea of how many trips will be added, so that we'll have confidence that we're looking at the worst case scenario for this development at this location.
Okay.
Ryan, in a case like this, will the study address potential separation of traffic, normal commuter traffic from industrial traffic, or will that not come into play in this type of study?
Not typically. I mean, we'll need to look at what our existing traffic counts are, if we have information or historical information in the recent past, how recently we've counted those key intersections, to see, we'll know, was that counted in the wintertime or the summertime, and so that'll be built into that data, whether or not the truck trips were built into the data.
Should we have this information about the traffic before we vote on it?
Well, it's pretty standard. I mean, this is a condition here that we have to provide for all improvements identified in a final approved traffic study. Eric, is this I forget, is this a minor plat?
It's a minor plat, so they're together, so.
Yeah. It won't go to city council until we have the traffic study formalized, approved by the city, and any required or recommended improvements would be incorporated in the subdivision agreement that then goes to city council.
So if there's a major issue with the traffic study, that would be identified before it gets to city council?
That's
for
correct.
final approval. Okay.
Ryan, real quick. So obviously it was shown, if you show the southern half with the multifamily, the two access points, one on Dorcas on the south and then one on 26th Street on the east. Is it part of Public Works' evaluation or part of the traffic study when you have, industrial user, trucks that are using 26th Street, obviously? Does that go into looking whether there should be an access point to multifamily, or is that not necessarily something that's reviewed?
I don't think that'd be something that'd be in the traffic impact analysis.
Okay.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris, could I have you come back up real quick? Obviously, you're mostly industrial, but you're residential around the area as well, right? Have you had any complaints issued at all against your operation in the last 12 to 18 months?
Not that I'm aware of, other than we did have a complaint on some concrete spillage that up on the street. But other than that, no complaints from the neighbors.
Okay. Do you have any dust or anything that's raised from all these trucks coming in and out of your plant? Is there dust and no matter, depending upon the prevailing winds at that time, it's either going to blow north or south probably.
If we got a windy, dry day, sometimes we'll have to water the lot a little bit to hold dust, but
And you do that as a practice?
yeah, that's a practice of ours. But it's all paved down there, so which really helps with keep the dust down.
Okay.
How long have you operated there?
We've been running out of there since I think probably 21 or 20.
Okay.
The new facility we opened in 22.
On this site?
Yeah, so we totally remodeled the old buildings down there and built a state-of-the-art new concrete producing facility in 2022, and it's a great spot for us to run out of. It's hard to find heavy industrial property in downtown Omaha.
Yeah.
So.
You have other plants other than this one?
We do. We have one in Gretna, and just got approval for one out on the north end of town off Irvington Road.
Okay.
So we're building the third one right now.
Chris, we're a public board of all volunteers and balancing city growth, and we hope you're very, very busy for a long, long time with affordable housing and places to put it in the Omaha community.
Right.
And this may be a place to put it. Other than not having this type of project as a neighbor, is there some type of middle ground or some type of improvement that you seek other than saying, we just don't want this here?
Yeah. Obviously, 26th Street is heavy industrial all the way down it. Really worries me. Traffic's one thing, but a unit like this is going to bring in how many children running around the streets? That's probably one of my major concern we should all think about. And I don't know how to segregate that from the heavy industrial areas and not have problems with that. Probably one of our major concerns. Not only the traffic, but the children in the neighborhood.
It's primarily that street there because you've got neighbors on the north side
Right,
of
but
you. Right?
they're up
Yeah.
on the north side of us, and we haven't had any issues with that, thankfully.
Anything else? Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.
All right, with that, I'll close the public hearing on these items. So Eric, you want to start with your commentary?
I guess I'd just start with Joe. And Joe, if you could come up, I just have a question. If it was ever considered on the development team to not have the 26th Street access and instead have that on the north off of Center to, try to separate, as much as you can. I know it's adjacent to the heavy industrial user that's there and operating. I just don't know I don't know the grades or if that was ever considered.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at several layouts at the site, and there's a great difference from west to east. So positioning the building this way and having the underground parking that help address some of the grade issues.
Part of what Joe's saying is there's parking underneath. This is low, so the building is retaining earth on the west and on the north side, so it seemed to make the most sense to set it up that way. It's also kind of, if you look at the way it's set up, the parking area is along 26th Street. That's where all the parking is. The housing is actually along Center and along the west side, so it's away from the industrial uses. That's the other way that we kind of, if you look at a big picture on the site.
Say that again. The housing is
Well, the parking. If this is the high hazard area here along 26th Street, that's where we put the parking, and we put the actual apartments away as far as possible from 26th Street to keep the sound and dust and all the kind of things we talked about from the industrial users. We put the apartments as far away as possible that we could have, in the site selection.
So the entrance to the plant is really just right off of the Center Street intersection and 26th Street then?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't have any more questions. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so, I guess just getting into a few of the details, there's 18 proposed townhome units. That area is already zoned R7 to the north of Center, so that's not part of the rezoning. So you could come in for a permit today and build those units. I think there's only one minor setback adjustment with the PUR, but otherwise those are nearly entirely code compliant on the north side, those townhome units. The south side's with the multifamily, 160 units, of course, within the two buildings, combination surface and structured parking. That is the section that is being rezoned to R8 to allow the multifamily. So, it's always a challenge whenever you have a mix of uses, whether it's high or low density residential when it's adjacent to industrial users. We recognize those are challenging, and this board has seen sites and heard sites that discuss those issues, but they are allowed to coexist, and there are provisions in both the master plan and the zoning code that do allow it. So while it is challenging, it definitely can work and would be compliant with the master plan. So there are 3 items: the future land use amendment for the multifamily site, and then the plat along with the rezoning, and then the third item is the PUR, which modifies some of those zoning regulations, mostly for the multifamily. So unless the board has any questions, I would give a motion for each agenda item and you'd vote on those. So I will give the recommendation for agenda item number 8, thank you. And then if you'd like to have discussion, you surely can. But for agenda item 8, which is the land use amendment change, staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so, yeah, just a commentary. I very much am concerned with the public safety aspect of what you raised, Chris, with regards to this. I'm kind of a safety guy. I like that, to look at that in all of our projects. And the area needs low-income housing. I get that, and this would certainly be an enhancement to what's there now. But those are pretty darn heavy trucks coming through there, and I don't know at what speed they're coming through there, but I'm guessing they're in a hurry sometimes and maybe go a little fast. But there's some controls in there. I'm conflicted, to be honest with you, with this. I think it'd be good to have this low-income housing. I don't see it personally. I've said it in the pre-meeting. I don't see it working well in that area. But there's nothing that would say that it won't either, other than a feeling that I've got with regards to it. But I am concerned with the safety aspect of that, and I just throw that out there because those are heavy trucks, and I hate to have. That's true with any project, though. I hate to have anything happen with regards to public safety on any project that we do. So safety is always paramount to me with regards to this. And there is, even though the entrance is off of Center Street and 26th Street, you still have to go through the other residential part of that to get to your site too, your plant. So I don't know. Anyway, I just made that comment, and with that, we have a motion, a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker,
Yes.
Sotolongo? Yes. Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes, with the caveat that I'm just saying yes because knowing that the traffic study needs to be done and completed before it goes to City Council. I agree with all of your concerns, so I'm not dismissing that at all, but I also don't want to hold up a project either at this point. So I think there are some safety spots along the way that if there is a big issue that we can have those conversations.
Mr. Chair?
I'll vote yes on this, but same reasons. I think there's some things that really are concerning on this. I hope the applicant really takes a hard look at options that maybe could exist on this. before it goes on to city council to help alleviate those concerns and those fears that maybe some of us or all of us have. But I hope the applicant does address those going forward.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you.
All right, for agenda item number 11, this is the plat in the zoning portion. Staff recommends approval of the rezoning from R7 and HI to R7 and R8. Approval of the preliminary plat subject to the 8 conditions in the report, and approval of the final plat subject to conditions of preliminary plat approval and submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to city council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Do I have a motion? On item 11.
Motion to approve the rezoning from R7 and HI to R7 and R8. Approval of the preliminary plat subject to the following 8 conditions in the report, and approval of the final plat subject to the conditions of preliminary plat approval and submittal of an acceptable final subdivision agreement prior to forwarding the request to city council for final action.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you.
And then for agenda item number 19, this is the PUR. There are a few small items that will need to be provided. Landscaping, connection from the townhomes to 26th Street, or 25th Avenue, I believe. So those will be done before city council as well. Staff recommends approval of the PUR overlay district subject to submitting final plans prior to city council.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Do I have a motion?
Approval of the PUR district subject to submitting acceptable final PUR development plans prior to forwarding the request to city council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Kathy, I have a motion and a second. Please record the vote.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes, and I'd like to add for the record that as somebody who's lived in South Omaha and seen large properties like this sit vacant for a long time, I could tell you that it's a danger right now, and it's something that I take into consideration when making my vote today. Something of that size being vacant for so long is a hotbed for crime, and it's a public safety concern, and it has been for years. It affects children already in the area, so that to me is one reason to get something moving there.
Yeah, good point. Did you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Rosacker? Sorry, Mr.
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. All right, that completes those items for the same applicant. Next then is item 9 on the agenda. It's KC 26048. The applicant is Planning Department on behalf of the City of Omaha. The request is approval of the downtown soccer stadium and mixed-use TIF redevelopment plan. The location is northeast of 12th and Cummings Street. Don?
Yeah.
You're up.
Just a moment here. Okay, this project is located northeast of 12th and Cummings Streets. It's a large site, presently vacant. It's owned by Union Pacific Railroad. City of Omaha has a purchase contract for the property and is moving forward in partnership with Downtown Soccer Stadium, Inc., that's DSSI, in a partnership to develop a 6,500-seat soccer stadium to be the home for Union Omaha soccer team. There is a second phase in the plans for the development of 2 mixed-use buildings, likely to be apartments with lower-level, first-floor retail commercial spaces. That would be on the southern portions of the site. The site will be subdivided into 3 or 4 parcels. The target is to begin construction of the stadium in 2026, with project completion to be the spring of 2028. So we're trying to move forward fairly quickly. This is a large-scale project. It's an exciting project for the city and for downtown, and a transformative project for the adjacent Millwork Common district. The city will own the land in the stadium and lease the stadium and lease the facility to the TIF applicants, to DSSI. The city will also own the land of the mixed-use buildings, those sites, and do a long-term land lease for those 2 mixed-use buildings. This project represents an investment in our central business district of more than $316 million. TIF support for the project is $48,214,614. Project meets the required criteria for the TIF program and is an appropriate land use for the location. We ask for your approval.
Okay, thank you, Don. Okay, are there any proponents then that wish to speak? Please come forward and name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Marco Floriani, the City of Omaha Mayor's Office. Just want to thank Planning Board for hearing about this project today and the consideration for your approval. I started with the city a little over 3 years ago, and the interest of Union Omaha locating a stadium in downtown Omaha was something I learned about day one. We've been working on this project for quite a while, and I wanted to communicate that the Mayor's Office shares the enthusiasm of Union Omaha in locating an open-air professional sports stadium downtown, and feel like this site is the perfect location for this project. It's always been our preferred choice or option 1A. Currently, the site is owned by Union Pacific. We had the opportunity to acquire it. We thought this project and acquiring the site needed serious consideration. And so we've been utilizing our 90-day due diligence period that we're in right now, really to button this project up and seek approvals. The site is essentially a greenfield or a gray field. There's track there today, but it was an industrial site, home to a lot of train cars, as well as rail lines. And a lot of those remnants are there. And this project truly requires a public-private partnership to activate and add about 25 acres to our downtown. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Okay, any other proponents who wish to speak?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. David Levy, Barrett Home Law Firm, 1700 Farnham Street, on behalf of Downtown Soccer Stadium, Inc. and Union Omaha. With me is Alexis Boulos.
Hi, Alexis Boulos, General Manager for Union Omaha, 2402 South 102nd Street. Obviously here and gracious, thank you for your consideration and the approval of this wonderful project for downtown.
Thank you. Also with me is Michael Sands from my office, and then as you can see behind me, we have a number of strong supporters of Union Omaha as well, I think a few of whom you might hear a little bit from today as well. I too want to thank the city, the mayor's office, the law department, the planning department, the public works department. We have been working on this project, as Marco said, for a long time. A lot has gone into this. We have a lot of work to do between now and this fall, when they would like to be starting construction so that they can be playing soccer in this stadium for the 2028 season. So we're very grateful to be here today as well. Don and Marco said it all very well. I don't want to belabor that and take your time unnecessarily. I do have some pictures that I'll walk through here, some exhibits, and please interrupt me with questions, of course, along the way. And we'll be here if you have questions after others come up, or however you want to do that. So the first item is the base map. And just a little bit further about this. So here's the stadium site, about 9 to 10 acres. The mixed use then is 4 acres here, 2 acres here, and then about 1 acre here. So that's a total of about 7 acres. And then you can see here is a city CSO sewer separation site. There's some very large sewer pipes. You can see those here, and that's all associated with that. This is the current Union Pacific Railroad track. This is where they park the locomotive during the College World Series. As part of that, the track will pull back this way to the east and to the north. The city, as a separate project, but a very important project for this exciting project, is working on building this connector where 10th and 11th Street come together and cross over Abbott and Cumming. So that gives you a little bit better kind of overview of the site. This is what we're calling the promenade. So as you can see here, and this is a bit of a site plan as well, and I've got a bigger one that I can show you as well. But you can see here on the left, on my left, you have the mixed use here. These are apartments above retail. The retail, entertainment, bars, restaurants, those kinds of things will front onto what we're calling the promenade here, which will come off of that crossover and lead fans right to the stadium along, again, that sort of entertainment row. Parking for these apartments will be accessed from behind and underneath there, so that on game days this can be pedestrian only. The theory is, or the thinking is, that would be a private street, but built to city standards. You can see, as was discussed, you've got Millwork Commons over here, and we're anticipating other development adjacent to the west as well. I think this is really exciting. I don't know that there's anything quite like that in Omaha today. Here's a rendering of that, what that might look like. You can see the owl there on the south end of the stadium. I think it's also fun to think about what this will look like from the other direction, from the north. So as you're coming in from the airport, one of the first things you'll see as you enter Omaha is a professional sports stadium and this district here north of Cumming and north of Abbott. As Marco said, we're adding, with this project, over 20 acres to downtown, which is very exciting in itself, but the fact that that's north of Cumming and north of Abbott and connecting downtown across that major thoroughfare, I think is another exciting piece of this project. And then the last picture I have is a rendering looking from the north toward downtown. You can see the stadium there in the foreground. You can see the mixed-use buildings here. You can see the kind of promenade idea over here, or street that I talked about. Again, very exciting. You can see, this would all be something you would see as you come in from the airport. You'll see this from downtown as well. Again, a major and really, really exciting addition to Omaha, to our downtown. Great to have this use downtown, conjunction with the streetcar and a lot of development that has come before this board over the last many years. This really, I think, is a major addition to that puzzle. With that, I'll stop, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, or if not, I'll let other folks come up, and as I said, we'll be here if you have questions.
Why don't we hear from the other folks and might call you back up? Then,
you got
Dave,
it.
if
Thank
don't
you.
mind. Okay. So any other proponents that wish to speak on this, please come forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Hunter Fangmeyer, 2719 North 65th Street, Omaha, Nebraska. I'm the president of Omaha Parliament. We're an independent supporters group, as well as a registered 501c3 dedicated to supporting now the men's team, but also women's team of Union Omaha, but also growing soccer and building community and having community impact. Just going to keep this quick. We're in fully support of this agenda item. We have over 550 members across 48 different area codes here in Fremont and Omaha, Papillion, everywhere, that come together on game days as well as at watch parties. We've always firmly believed that downtown is the best spot for our community to exist and to gather as a group, and we're looking forward to having a greater community impact there. In the past, we've held watch parties for Union Omaha matches at Cross Train over Millwork Commons, so our group is very familiar with the area. Happy to answer any questions.
What's the name of your group again?
Omaha Parliament.
Okay, not familiar with them. Probably not your demographic.
Hey, we would love to have you at our tailgates or watch parties. Everyone's always welcome. I do always have to explain that a group of owls is called a parliament, so that's where the name comes from. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents then that wish to speak on this? No? Okay. Are there any opponents then that wish to come forward and speak on this? Seeing none? Dave, why don't you come back up?
Yep.
So there's a lot of moving parts to this.
Yes.
Right? And do things have to flow within a certain order for them to occur? In other words, does the stadium have to be built first before the other buildings can either be built or leased? How is that going to work?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The idea is that the stadium would be built first for a few reasons. One, the stadium is really the anchor of the district. Two, the stadium is the farthest north land use, and so it makes the most sense to start kind of at the back of the site or the farthest part of the site and build forward. Third is that Union Omaha needs a place to play. And we want to get them playing downtown in the stadium as soon as possible. The idea then is that the mixed-use development will follow very soon or right on the heels of the stadium, could potentially even overlap the finishing of the stadium with, let's say, the kicking off of the first mixed-use building. Some of that will be market-driven, but you don't have a district with just the stadium or just the mixed use. And what really makes this all work from a land use perspective, from a density perspective, from a pedestrian perspective, and from an economic and financial perspective is that combination of that mixed use development and that anchor stadium. So a little bit of a long answer to your question, but hopefully that gives some context as to the plan and the thinking overall.
Yeah, and trust me, I'm very much in favor of this. It's going to be great for the city of Omaha, and appreciate the investment everyone's making in Omaha and with this complex. But you know, kind of as a former banker, I always have some questions with regards to the money issues, right?
Yep.
So where is the? And I didn't look at the TIF if there was a TIF attachment to it, but that's a lot of TIF money. And I see $29 million in public improvements. Where's the other $20 million? Is it acquisition? Where's the money being spent on for the other $20 million in TIF?
So as Marco mentioned, this is a greenfield site or a grayfield site. The city will issue bonds to pay for the cost of the stadium to be built. The TIF revenues will then be assigned to the city to help pay off those bonds. There are about 6 revenue streams in total that are assignable to the city to make sure that the city gets paid back, and then those revenue streams far exceed the amount of the TIF, and those will be used also to help finance the rest of the project. We are discussing with the city capital improvement fund money as well, because again, there really is no infrastructure on this site, and so you have to build the streets and the sewers and you know, curb, gutter, sidewalk, all of those things, water, all of those things.
Okay, that part I get.
Okay.
But I'll come back to what's in our packet anyway. So under utilities and public improvements, the total amount for that is eligible for TIF is $29 million shown here, but then the total amount of TIF request is $48,214. Right. So what's the other money being used for other than the items that are itemized on this? Do you know?
I want to make sure I'm looking at the same thing.
Maybe Don would know. Maybe Don
You are.
Seaton would have that
You look-
information with the city.
Mr.
Don, you wanna-
Chairman, there's 2 tranches, stadium tranche and the mixed-use tranche.
Right.
Where's the stadium tranche then?
Whoop, I thought Don was coming up. Okay.
Michael Sands, 1700 Farnham, with Baird Home as well. So I think the difference is the 29 million is just what I would call like true public improvements, which is within the right of way. But the actual TIF eligible improvements, let's see if I can find them. They total $118 million.
The total eligible? Do we have that in our packet? I didn't see that.
Actually, 142 million between both mixed use and stadium.
That's TIF eligible?
Yeah. So, I mean, in a sense,
Your table says
the
that
entire
the city lease purchase bonds is $136 million total, and TIF is supposed to be in that.
Yeah, I don't have I don't think I have what I have or what you have in front of you, but so a big chunk of that is the stadium itself. It's a public stadium. It's going to be owned by the city of Omaha.
So public improvements.
Right. Yeah, so the 29 million that you're referring to is just those true right-of-way improvements. So obviously you have things like acquisition. You have, you know, the true publicly owned stadium, which is obviously a huge chunk of what would be considered TIF eligible under the law. So certainly about 30 million in, you know, what will occur within the public right of way, but much more than that for what is TIF eligible.
And I think maybe this goes to your question a little bit too. The TIF by itself does not fund the stadium project. As I mentioned, there are about 6 different sources of revenue that would be pledged to the city to make sure that the city can pay off those bonds that it would issue to build the stadium. The TIF is a major piece of that, but then there are naming rights, there are parking revenues, there are ticket surcharges, and a couple of others. And so the combination of those revenue streams far exceeds that $136 million that you talked about. The TIF is a very important piece of that, but it alone does not fund the stadium or the land acquisition or the public improvements. When all that put together, that's why we have a number of revenue streams that again exceeds the city's financial input on the project, so that the city is more than covered in making sure that its bonds will get repaid.
Right.
Does that go to your question?
Sort of.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah. I wish I had that itemization that someone referred to. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, okay. See, so this is showing $142 million in total eligible costs, right? What you just gave me, TIF eligible costs. But we get 29 million in our packet here, but I don't see that 29 million even in this itemization here. I'm sure it's embedded in some of this stuff.
So
Not that I don't believe you, I just want to make sure that we're approving the right amount for TIF.
Yep.
Here.
So the land acquisition is $19 million, and then there's the estimate for the infrastructure improvements, things, basic things, streets, sewers, is about $12 million. So that exceeds that 29 million, just right there. Again, those are, core TIF eligible improvements that you see in pretty much every TIF project, is land acquisition and construction of that.
And that's for the whole project, right? The whole project.
That's correct.
Mixed use and stadium and everything,
That's
right?
correct.
It's for everything.
Yep. Yep, and both the mixed use and the stadium also then contribute, of course, to the TIF revenues.
Okay. All right. I'll get off of that. And then the lease. So your clients, the DS, is it DS?
Downtown Soccer Stadium, Inc.
Okay.
Yep.
They're going to lease the stadium from the city.
Correct.
Have they signed, or have they either signed the lease or going to sign the lease, and how long is that lease going to be for?
They've not yet signed the lease. We still are working on negotiating that with the city along with the redevelopment agreement. We expect that lease will be in the neighborhood of 25 years. So it'll be a very long-term lease, and they will operate and operate the stadium for that time period.
Okay.
David, I'm not sure if you know this, and just maybe it's more curiosity. You had used the reference of the level of pro level in the pre-meeting. When does that process happen, or what does it take to jump up a step, I guess, basically in layman's terms?
Yeah, good question. I can't give you an exact time frame, but to the part of your question, what does that take? What that takes, and I don't mean this to be flip, is having a stadium like this to play in. The league has a variety of requirements, to be at that level, both for the men's team, and I think Marco mentioned the women's team, which is a very exciting part of this as well. And that is predicated on having a stadium of this size and of this quality and with all of the functionality that this stadium has, so that we satisfy the requirements of the league. So really, with the stadium opening, that process happens very quickly, as I understand it. Alexis, anything you want to add, or did I get that wrong?
No, you are absolutely correct. From a functionality standpoint, we won't have facilities available to us without our own stadium in order for us to make the jump and improve both as an organization within the league. And then that, obviously, you may also be referring to promotion and relegation, which then will be happening around the same time in 2028. And so that then gives us the opportunity to be a part of that process, so that should we continue to be as successful as we have been on the pitch, we would continue to move up in the ranks within the league.
Is the stadium able to be expanded if you need to expand the seating capacity?
The seating bowl is, yes.
Okay.
So there's several sections, and we're in schematic design right now to talk about what that looks like and how much we want to be able to expand should the need arise.
One of the really, thank you. One of the really important pieces to the financing question also here, but one of the critical pieces that we need to get in place is state turnback tax, sales tax turnback. So LB 1317, which was approved now in 2024, specifically authorized turnback tax under the Sports Arena Facility Financing Act for this stadium. So that's 25. We're capped at $25 million over 20 years, $1.25 million a year in sales tax that's generated that then gets returned to the project that would also be pledged to the city as part of that revenue stream. That's important for a couple of reasons. So that's in statute. There is a process through the state of Nebraska. There's a special committee that has to approve those applications. The governor is a member of that committee. We've filed that application, and we're awaiting a hearing date on that. That's something that we're hoping happens this spring, and that's a critical piece of the financing for this project. Our client has hired MuniCap. If that name sounds familiar, they did the financial analysis for the city on the streetcar. They're very conservative in their financial analysis. They have vetted all of these numbers. They have confirmed for us that this capital stack and this financing mechanism that we've worked out here and that we'll continue to work on with the city, that all works. As to the turnback tax, their estimate is that over that 20 years, the stadium and the mixed-use district will generate far more sales tax than that $25 million that we're capped at. So this project, in terms of like a return on investment, for example, to the state, this is all new sales tax that's not being generated. We're not taking it from anywhere else. There's a carve-out where our radius would intersect with the turnback tax radius that serves the CHI center, so that we're sure we don't interfere with that. Taking all that into account, MuniCap concluded, again, that there's about twice as much sales tax that would be generated as our 25 million, or the 25 million that the statute currently entitles us to. Finally, what got me onto that is that that particular section of statute limits the size of the stadium. It's either 7,000 or 7,500 seats. So there is some room, as Alexis said, for expansion, but there's also some limit on that. Soccer fans also are tend to be very mobile. And so the stadium, they'll have the 6,500 fixed seats, but then there's capacity for another couple thousand people in non-traditional seating areas, concourse, berm, that kind of thing. So to call it a 6,500 seat stadium is correct, but the total capacity of that stadium is more in that 8,000 type range.
Is that turnback tax in addition to the existing other local and state taxes that are assessed on goods and services in that area?
No, the turnback tax, so the way the turnback tax works is if I go to a restaurant there and I spend $100, well, I spend enough that I generate $10 in sales tax. 7 of those $10 go back to the applicant and then ultimately to the city to help those bonds. 3 of those dollars go to the state right off the top. So that's all new sales tax, but it is turning back sales tax within the 7% that I would normally pay, 7.5. So it's not like an EEA that's on top of the normal sales tax.
So if I spend that $100, I think combined state and local tax, if the restaurant tax that exists right now is 8 or 9%, right, total right now. If I go to a restaurant in this area here, is there an additional amount other than that 9% that I have to pay then?
No, not for the turnback tax. So this project also relies on an enhanced employment area. That's on top of that, but the turnback tax is within actually the state 5.5%.
So the portion that the state already gets,
correct.
is
The
coming
city
back.
still gets its tax. The restaurant fund still gets its tax, et cetera.
Got it.
Yep.
That's good. Okay.
That could, isn't there, I mean, there's some conversations of that not potentially being available, right?
Yes, that is and that's not just for this.
Yeah, that's
this
for
project. Yes, we are working hard to make sure that nothing happens during this legislative session, and there was no bill introduced that directly addresses that section of that statute that allows us to apply for that turnback tax. So we're optimistic for that approval, but it's a critical part of the financing stack of this project.
So who has to approve it? Then the state has to approve it?
The state has to approve it. That's
Which
correct.
body of the state has to approve it?
It's that committee that I mentioned that includes, I know it includes the governor, it includes an economist from the university, and I can't remember who else is on that committee, but it's a special committee formed by that statute to hear and rule on those kind of applications.
All the bills have been introduced, so unless there's an amendment that's offered at some point in time, I don't
We,
know that.
I lobby at the legislature, so I never want to say never until sine die. But yes, we feel good about that part of it, and we're optimistic for the approval. Commissioner Morris, you're right. There's been a lot of news articles, and the governor has said different things about these types of incentives. We feel like because this is all new sales tax, and because the MuniCap numbers show that there will be so much new sales tax that goes to the state over and above what would be returned to the project, we think that gives us a very good argument to that committee and to the governor that, again, there's that very large positive return on investment from day one. And then, of course, those sales taxes, once the 20 years is over, those sales taxes go back to the state in full, just kind of the same way that TIF works.
David, this committee is a special committee of the executive, is that right, of the governor?
It is a committee created by that particular statute. The governor is a member of that committee, but I don't know how they appoint that committee off the top of my head.
3-person committee, including the governor?
I believe it's a 5-person committee.
5-person committee.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, we're hoping to be before them in March, maybe that soon, for a hearing. They meet every month, but they haven't met for a couple months. So.
I imagine the developer is considering fallback plans if that 19 million is not available.
We are. We're working with MuniCap, and we're looking at the capital stack and all of those things. But that incentive is a critical piece of the financing for this project. And whether this project works without that turnback tax, we don't know. We want to get that approved as soon as possible so that then the city can close on the land and we can, continue down the path.
You referenced the MuniCap study. Is that study concluded or in process?
They continue to refine and update their numbers. We have a meeting coming up with city finance staff and city legal staff, city bond counsel, all of those people to really get everybody. We've had conversations, or they've had conversations already. They're continuing to refine that in conjunction with talking to city staff. The city has run their own financial model for the project as well. MuniCap has that, and they're comparing those and talking about all of those things.
Who owns that MuniCap work product?
That MuniCap work product was contracted for by our client.
Will it be made publicly available?
Potentially, yes, at least in summary part. I mean, it goes on and on for tens of pages of tables and things like that. But
Sure.
we've shared some of the summary numbers from the analyses that they've done to date. A lot of the numbers that are in our TIF application that you have before you came from MuniCap.
I know it was helpful to the public in the case of the streetcar project.
Yeah.
Could be similarly helpful to this developer.
I agree. Thank you.
So your timeline starts construction 2026, right?
Yes.
Which we're in.
Yes.
So what has to happen now? What's next? Assuming this gets through and we move forward. So what's next and what has to happen?
Yeah, so a lot, but the big steps are we have to negotiate, among other things, a redevelopment agreement, which will include the enhanced employment area as well, and a ground lease with the city. We have to negotiate construction documents and all of those processes with the city to build the stadium. We have to go to Urban Design Review Board. We have to go to City Council for approval, of course, of the redevelopment agreement. and the EEA, and they'll have to approve also issuance of they've authorized issuance of bonds to monetize the turnback revenue, but they'll have to authorize issuance of additional bonds. They'll have to approve the redevelopment agreement. They'll have to approve the lease or leases. And you got to get construction contracts in place. The city has to close on the land. Marco mentioned that 90-day due diligence period. That will end in mid-March. We're probably looking at asking for an extension of that period, but not for more than like another 90 days. So there is a lot to do, but we believe it is feasible to get through all of those steps by late summer, and then get contractors out there in the fall and get them going on the stadium so that it can be open and ready for play for the 2028 season.
So, Jennifer, can I ask a legal question from you with regards to the bonds then?
Yes.
Okay, so again, the timeline's pretty fast timeline here. So when will those bonds then be issued? At what point in time will those bonds be issued for this project then?
Jennifer Taylor, City Law Department, and ideally, the bonds will be issued in tranches over the next 2 to 3 years while the project is being constructed.
For a total amount of?
For a total amount of, I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 million, give or take. Okay. Again, that's still to be finalized and determined between the parties pursuant to a redevelopment agreement. But we would, very similar to kind of what we're doing at Crossroads right now with the partnership we have there, we are issuing bonds in tranches so that we can keep up with the construction schedule, but that we don't overextend ourselves.
But you can't issue any bonds, obviously, till you have all the agreements signed.
We need to have all the agreements in place. We need to have all the approvals in place. And then we can establish what that schedule looks like, prepare bond documents. But until we have that, particularly that redevelopment agreement and specifically the redevelopment plan, some of these bonds I can't, we need to have that redevelopment plan in place in order to issue those bonds. And those agreements also become collateral for the bondholders.
David, given the short due diligence timeline, has all the environmental assessments been done on the site already? I only ask just because it's rail site and there could be surprises.
Yeah, so good. Thank you for the question. There is more environmental analysis and investigation to be done. UP had a very thorough environmental investigation done on the site about 15 years ago. And so that gives us, nothing has really changed on the site. So that's old, but nothing has really changed that would change that. So that gives us a very good baseline and a good level of comfort with the site. We also more recently have been able to have a ground scan done. And that has told us that we need to keep looking, but it didn't tell us that the site is either literally or economically infeasible to build on from an environmental standpoint. Until the city closes with UP, though, we're limited from doing new physical testing. So like the day that they close or the day after they close, we'll be out there doing that as well. Everything we know so far is that there will be work to do from an environmental standpoint, but the site is feasible from that standpoint. We know from that earlier analysis that UP did that we can't have ground floor residential, that we can't have grass youth sports fields. It's not a big thing in Omaha, but you're not going to be growing fruit trees or anything like that. But in all seriousness, we know that those restrictions are there and are going to be there from the EPA, and so all of the design work that our clients, in conjunction with Hines, who's their development partner, and HOK, who's the primary architect on the stadium, all of that work, and on the district, all of that work has been done knowing that we're going to have at least those environmental restrictions in place. So it really, this is way overstating it, but it's a slab on grade kind of project with the residential then elevated above that first floor of retail and parking to mitigate and address those environmental concerns.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Well, your client's been at this for a long time, so and I know, this is really exciting for the city and what's happening downtown. So, congratulations if it goes through, obviously, but congratulations, and yeah, I'm anxious to see it all kind of develop and come together and see how it works.
Yeah, thank you. We are too. It really is a tremendously exciting project. I mean, I've been at this a long time, obviously, and you know, there aren't very many of these projects that you get to do in a career. And this really is one of those. And I want to, again, thank you all. I know this is a lot. You are one of the first big steps in the approvals after the City Council approved the purchase and that initial bond authorization. We got a lot of work to do, but it really is exciting. Again, I can't thank the city and the mayor's office enough. And this is a true public-private partnership. And to me, this is the kind of project that really deserves to be, or really works well as a public-private partnership. That stadium will have a private lessee, but it will be a treasure for the public of Omaha and the surrounding metropolitan area, state of Nebraska, and beyond. And there will be men's soccer matches there. There will be women's soccer matches there. There will be concerts. There might be championship games for youth soccer tournaments in the region. You know, you could see it as a place where you might finish for the Omaha Marathon or do a breast cancer walk. Our client has even talked about making the stadium available, the field available to the public. At certain times, kids can come out there and kick a soccer ball around on a professional pitch inside a professional stadium. I think that's pretty cool. Our client is very committed. They want to build this downtown for a lot of reasons, but one of those reasons is they're very committed to the Omaha community, South Omaha, North Omaha, downtown Omaha. And you know, it's just, I think, a tremendous project in that regard. Again, we wouldn't be even here today without the collaboration and work of the mayor's office and the planning department and the law department, public works department, finance department. I'm sure I've forgotten something, but I can't thank them enough. And you know, our client works on these kinds of projects in different places in the country, and they see how those other cities work on these things, and they've been tremendously complimentary of the folks here in Omaha as well. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, we respectfully request your support on this.
Any other questions for David?
Are you a scarf-carrying member of the Omaha Parliament?
You know, embarrassingly, I have a scarf, and it's across the street in my office. So when you see me again, I will be wearing my scarf, definitely. And we invite you all to come to a match. They'll be playing their matches, as I'm sure you've read, in 2026 at Morrison Stadium nearby here. We'd love to have you all there. And, you know, there's scarves for sale and all kinds of good stuff there. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Eric?
I don't think I can add much to what David and Marco and others have said, so staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, a motion for approval of the downtown soccer stadium and mixed-use TIF redevelopment project plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rupert?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Good luck to you. Yeah, let us know. Keep us posted. Okay. Thanks. All right. Where are we? All right. Next is item 10. KC 10-26040, C12 26041. Applicant is 217 Golf LLC. The request is preliminary plat approval of the Coffee Tree, a subdivision outside city limits with rezoning from AG to R4, along with the waiver of Section 53A2B, cul-de-sac length. The location is northeast of 217th Street and West Center Road. May we hear from the applicant? Doug?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Douglas Dreesen, 10836 Old Mill Road. I have with me today Brett Kluwer, the applicant and developer of Coffee Tree. Pretty tough act to follow there, but
Yeah.
I think
You can do it, Doug.
I think this one's a lot more what you guys are used to. What this is 16 lots, a cul-de-sac that was originally planned on the Skyline Woods golf course back in the 80s. our developers there already started on resurrecting the golf course. We plan to have a luxury level country club there. We don't have a lot of pretty pictures like they had, but these are just 16 residential lots. It's pretty tough to make them look pretty. They're right off 217th Street. You come in at that entry if you're familiar with Skyline, and they'll go over to the east to fill that area in. The golf course holes will work around it. I know some of you are familiar with the old Skyline Woods golf course. We're not asking for any TIF. In fact, we anticipate a valuation of $38 million from these developments. Of that, there's general obligation debt of $300,000. So we think it's a great investment for the city. It'll be another spot way on the west side of town that people will want to go to. We did have a neighborhood meeting on Monday. Had 65 neighbors show up, which was half what we had before on the golf course. We did get some concern, mainly regarding the legal ruling by the Supreme Court that affects this, but we've worked diligently with city staff. They've been very helpful in helping us through this process, and they recommended approval with conditions, 12 of them. We're fine with all the conditions. We're already working on some of those. So with that, I will leave it to you guys for questions. Thank you.
Jack, real quick clarification. Just want to make sure I understood your numbers there. $38 million in total valuation? So $2 million homes?
Yes.
Roughly? Okay. Just want to make sure I get
a little over $2 million.
What's the value of a lot,
but
Doug?
with land and
I think the values vary. Brett's here.
Give or take.
$500,000.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, are there any other proponents that wish to speak? No, are there any opponents? How many are you going to speak? Are you all here for the same case? Are you, okay, any opponents?
Are you a proponent?
You
Yes. We have one.
proponent?
Yes.
Okay, please.
My name is Larry Pence. I live at 21040 Arbor Court in the villas at Skyline. I was first a member at Skyline Woods back in the 80s, built our home in the villas in 2000. So I've lived through 6 different ownership groups, most of them not very good to work with, and nobody ever delivered on what they promised. They had lots of ideas, but no money. This is the first time we've worked with a developer that is going to deliver us the golf course we've been waiting for. I last played golf out there 10 years ago, and I'm anxious to do that again. There's been some concern voiced by some of the residents, which I really don't understand. These 16 lots aren't adjacent to any other residential properties. They don't infringe on any of the golf course development at all. So they were originally planned in the development way back in the 80s, but it never happened. So Brett's just trying to resurrect that original plan and build those 16 lots in a cul-de-sac. Used to be the driving range, but it wasn't really a driving range. It was about 100 yards long with a net that you hit restricted golf balls into it. So it was really crummy. So it's really been wasted land. So most of the people out there are very excited about the golf course development. And really, I haven't heard any legitimate concerns about this housing. People have said, well, it violates the Supreme Court ruling, but it does not. The original intent of the Supreme Court ruling, which I was involved in that fight, was to prohibit a developer from building condominiums, townhomes, other types of structures on the golf course. And that ruling says it has to be developed either as a golf course or green space. So for 10 years, it's been green space. In fact, I've been mowing it for the last 2 or 3 years. So we're really looking forward to having this development completed. And again, I've heard very little legitimate reasons for concern on these 16 lots. It doesn't make any sense to me why it would cause any sort of concern for anybody. But so I would stand in favor of this development going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, are there any other proponents then? See none. Opponents? Please come forward. Is it just one going to speak?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Vance, 21934 Stanford Circle. I am a resident out in Skyline Woods since 2018. I am the president of the HOA. I really don't know why we're even here, because there is a Supreme Court ruling in place that states this is to be a golf course or kept as a park-like setting. In that Supreme Court ruling that you all received, it has nomenclature in there as to the length of the grass that is supposed to be kept in case it goes away from a golf course, which it has gone away from a golf course. The proposed lots have never been platted. We were told at the December 4th meeting, neighborhood meeting, or I'm sorry, the December 2nd meeting, that they had been platted. That's what was told to the whole entire group. That is not correct information. They were never platted. This was a conceptual drawing in the 1980s. This golf course was put in 1970, something like that. There's people living in Skyline Woods currently that were in the trenches during this Supreme Court case. They spent millions of dollars to adjudicate this. It's a done deal. It's in the Supreme Court. It cannot be developed. If you want to argue semantics about townhomes or condos or single-family homes, development is development. And while we do want the golf course, we don't want more development out there. When we purchased our home 8 years ago, we asked about the Supreme Court ruling. And our real estate agent said, no worries. I said, I don't want a street back here. I don't want to see houses out here to the northeast of me. She said, it can't be developed. There can't be any more homes. Nothing can be built here. Again, we're in favor of the golf course. We want the golf course. We don't want the development. For 99 years, the Supreme Court, it states that in the case. It was in the sales contract at the December Planning Board meeting. I believe it was Mr. Pate asked Mr. Kluwer if he had the financial backing for this, and Mr. Kluwer replied yes. I respectfully request that you deny his request based on the Supreme Court ruling alone.
Let me ask you a question. We're not going to get into the Supreme Court. That's not what we're here for today on this, right? But you're president of the HOA?
Yes.
Right. How many homes have been built around that course? First of all, let me ask you this. What are you objecting to with the development? They're going to be nice single-family homes. Other than the Supreme Court case, what are the objections of the neighbors that you're representing here really about, other than that Supreme Court case? Because I think it would be an enhancement to the whole general area of the course and their neighborhood.
Because you're going from ag to R4. R4 zoning once you break that seal of the Nebraska Supreme Court, now you're sunk. If the golf course fails like it has 5 times before, now we are susceptible, and we'll have to re-adjudicate these problems of the traffic is already horrendous.
You got 16 lots in there with a single access point coming in through a cul-de-sac,
Yeah,
right?
off of Center,
Off
West
the center.
Center, 55 miles an hour.
Right?
You've got a turn lane that's probably 20 yards long, and you've got people coming out of 217th. There's a guard shack there at the entrance. It's a narrow entrance. You're going to turn in there and turn right away into his proposed cul-de-sac. It's a problem. That's a problem. The big problem is going from ag to R4. You can't do it. The Supreme Court says no more development.
Okay. Well, we maybe get into that with our legal team here in a bit, but we're not here to talk about that Supreme Court case. None of us, I think.
Well,
Any of you attorneys?
but
None of us are attorneys.
it has to be talked about.
No, we're going to talk about what we're approving today, which is the application for preliminary plat approval of subdivision and the rezoning, right? That's what we're here for. But again, I don't really understand why you would object to this, other than you got 16 new lots coming in, but you've got $2 million+ homes coming into your subdivision, which should enhance the value of your homes as well. And
no,
I don't understand the logic.
Maybe 10 years from now, when they're built, maybe.
Maybe.
What if the golf course goes kerplunk? Now we're stuck with 16 other homes, and
It'd be easier to sell 16 platted lots, than it would empty land.
And then you get a developer in there that's going to want to put townhomes and apartment buildings and condos, possibly commercial.
Okay.
We
I
don't
get where
want
you're
it.
coming from.
We don't want it.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Anything else that you maybe wanted to talk about? Is there anything
No.
else that you wanted
That's it.
to talk about? Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. Any other proponents that wish to speak at all? Or opponents, not opponents?
My name is Pam Houston. I live at 21732 East Stanford Circle.
Tammy, is it?
Stanford Circle.
Tammy is your name?
I'm sorry?
Pam or Pam?
Pam.
Pam, okay, thank you.
I've lived there since 2010. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs with people that were going to build golf courses. And I just want to reiterate what Robin has said. The danger is if we have this court broken and they are allowed to build these houses when they weren't originally platted, then the door will be open for condominiums and apartment buildings and multifamily housing. We are already crazy out there with what they're developing. The traffic is horrible. We've got another apartment complex going in for 500. I mean, what is going on in Omaha that these apartments are going crazy? I think about the cost of building the more schools. I mean, we are financing ourselves out of living in Nebraska, the taxes and everything else. But the fight is for the right of the people that live there, that have bought that property knowing there was a Supreme Court judgment that would protect us. One of the people that bought the property was going to build apartments. That's why this whole thing came about. Quite frankly, he may have a passion for a golf course, and I like golf courses. Do I believe it's really going to happen? It's very questionable to me because we've been through this 5 different times.
Yeah.
And that makes us very, very vulnerable.
I know, I've lived here all my life, so I know what you guys have been going through. I've seen, and I knew the guy that you were dealing with, right? And I know what you mean. I'm not sure Brett is the same type of person as that individual is.
You know what? We never know until
You don't know. I'm going to call Brett up here, and I'm going to ask him. Brett, would you come up and introduce yourself, please? Brent, is it Brent or Brett?
Brett.
Brett.
2 T's.
And name and address, please.
2541 South 221st Circle, Elkhorn.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody, for showing up today. Like she just mentioned, I do have a passion for this and been after it since 2014. It's been a long time. And Robin's been to my home. We've had many discussions. I talked to her on the phone last night for a half hour. We had the neighborhood meeting. I've talked to Howard, I've talked to Perry, talked to Larry. I'm going through the neighborhood. I moved out there to do this. I live in the neighborhood. I'm going through all of this with them. I'm not from out of town. I'm not hiding from anything. I'm right there. I've told them all that. Come to my house. Let's sit down. Let's talk. You know, Robin asked about a bulk email. I said, I'd rather talk to everybody individually. That's just the way I am. The golf course will happen. For Pam, I have not met. I can promise you there's millions and millions of dollars already invested in this. I just dropped my golf course guys off at the airport yesterday from Houston, Peter Jacobson's group. They'll be here on March 1st. That's 25 days away from now. You guys have seen the work that's going out there, you know, walking through the trails, all the trees that we've taken down, the amount of money that we've already spent, the retaining wall over on 12, getting that ready, limestone, very, very expensive stuff to make this a high-end luxury property, you know, comparable to Omaha Country Club, Happy Hollow, Field Club, Shadow, Champions. This is going to be very high-end. There won't be a blade of grass out of place. I hesitate when I hear these things because the Supreme Court ruling, the spirit of that ruling was to protect the homeowners out there. Exactly what I'm doing. I'm bringing back exactly what that fight was for. Larry was a part of this. Denny Circo was a part of it. Luckily, Denny stepped up with these people and spent significant amount of money for exactly what I'm doing. All I'm doing is adding some lots on this golf course. I've got 18 holes. A lot of these developers wanted to come in and put 9 holes in and then throw a bunch of lots in there. Why that could have possibly gone through, that's not what I'm doing. The focus is on this country club, but these projects are massively expensive, as you can imagine, and this is a huge piece of it for me to be able to pull this off. So I look at that Supreme Court ruling, and that was not the spirit of that ruling. And the length of the grass that she discussed, all that stuff, that's going away. I mean, we've started work, and it goes through final approval here, City Council, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then we're rocking and rolling. This thing will be ready to play November 1st. So any concerns about the lots, by the time this gets through final plat, you know, however long that is, we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I know you had a fast timeline on this. And
Yeah.
that is fast.
Yeah, and I
obviously,
asked the guys again in the car on the way to the airport. I said, "Now you're sure about this?"
Right.
They said, "Yes, we are."
Okay,
And I
so-
said, "You
so-
guys are the experts, not me."
So 2 questions, just for the record again.
Sure.
Your financing's in place. There's no issues with regards to getting this thing built in the time frame that you're talking about with regards to money.
That's correct. But
Correct?
this piece is a piece of the overall puzzle.
Right,
Yes.
right. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it's not going to happen, and 10 saying that the golf course is going to happen, where are you at?
If I could go above 10, I would.
Okay. I just wanted that for the record.
And our membership has already exploded, and based on the designers and the people in this business, we are leaps and bounds of where anybody is development-wise to get something like this off the ground. We're well over 100 members already.
What are you doing? Are the members that are joining, are they having to pay a membership fee already?
Yeah, there's
So what are
installments.
you doing with that money? You can't spend it yet, can you?
Yeah, you can. They're installments and they're non-equity memberships. But there's three installments.
Can I ask though, real quick? So you're at an 11 for this as a golf course, right? But you just mentioned that these lots being platted for single family is part of your capital.
When you look at the overall property, it's a 20 million plus property. If this were not to go through, there would be, currently there's no bank financing. This is all being privately financed. So if something were to happen, if this were to be an issue, that would cause issues of the overall. I would have to seek bank financing to finish something like that.
So the start isn't the question, but the finish and ongoing operations
Yeah,
could be at risk.
yeah, basically you look at the membership initiation fees plus the sale of these lots. And all of the issues that were raised, other than that Supreme Court, have been addressed as well, as far as we don't back up to anybody's property. When David Brockmeyer in 2005, I believe it was, tried to do other things, of course, that's why they fought it. They did a great job, and you can see the passion of these people, and they're great people. And I don't blame them for standing up, and they're worried about down the line from a zoning standpoint. This is just for these 16 lots. We'd have to go through 20 years down the line if something happened to me and the course was gone. Whoever that developer is, that would be the same thing as what David Brockmeyer tried to do. And they have that Supreme Court ruling. It doesn't poke a hole in it. That runs with the land. So there is not a concern on that side of it.
Brett, is it fair to say that the development of these 16 lots and then the equity available for the balance of the project in some ways ensures the golf course and the green space associated with it for a long time into the future for people in the neighborhood?
Absolutely. When you're not looking at bank financing, you don't have debt servicing to worry about. That's a huge piece. The financial success and the neighborhood from a traffic standpoint, the Prairie's neighborhood to the north, and our neighborhood, the Skyline. We have 77% of our members so far within a 1 mile radius, and there'll be golf course communities. The Prairies is already working on that piece of it. They're going to be driving golf carts into the community, and that will be less traffic as well. So we didn't feel that there was any issue with 16 lots as far as a traffic situation.
It sounds like you share some of the neighborhood concerns of the other residents of the neighborhood. With that in mind, is that impacting how you're approaching design and development of the subdivision and/or of the golf course?
Yeah, we looked at many different things, and there was 2 other lots that were originally apart when we came to you guys that were over by my house. One of them I already own that is platted, and we were just adding a sliver to that in 1 other lot, but you guys had asked that I talk to the owner of the property to the south between Old Center, so we left that off, and we're just going forward with these 16 right now while I meet with the owner of that property later on. So yeah, any of the concerns that they've brought up other than that Supreme Court, we've definitely dealt with.
Thank you.
So could you or Doug or maybe even Robin, I know we're not really here dealing with the legal issue with the other exception is that was this unique parcel included within the property description that was in that lawsuit?
Yes, I believe it would be, yes.
Okay.
Because it was that driving range before.
Okay.
With nets.
Yes, large net that's still up there, will be coming down.
Yeah.
And just to make that kind of add on to that, somebody had addressed, well, you're not going to have a driving range. We have an indoor performance center that's coming with hitting bays in it, an indoor putting green, indoor chipping, simulators. It's state of the art. It's the future of driving ranges from a land use standpoint.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other opponents then that wish to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Eric, what comments do you have for us?
Yeah, so, it had been mentioned some concern about other uses or other housing types. So with the proposed R4 zoning, multifamily residential is not an allowed use within R4. So I just wanted to mention that R4 is part of a low-density residential classification, very similar to the R2 zoned lots that are in existence in the neighborhood. But so I just wanted to state that that's not permitted within R4. Zoning wise, it's fairly straightforward, obviously. Very similar to besides the previous history, which it's not necessarily my role here from the planning department or really the city of Omaha. Of course, we have representation from the law department, but the city is not part of or party to any neighborhood covenants, and nor was it part of that Supreme Court ruling. Of course, we're aware of it. So if you have further questions on that, I would probably direct them to the law department. But otherwise, the zoning is pretty straightforward. There is a waiver of one of the sections of Chapter 53, which deals with subdivisions, so that's cul-de-sac length. That's not uncommon when there's not the ability to connect to adjacent street networks or anything like that. So that is not uncommon in a situation as this. I don't think I have much more to add. So unless there's any questions, staff recommends approval of a waiver to Section 5382B cul-de-sac length, approval of the rezoning from AG to R4, and approval of the preliminary plat subject to the 12 conditions in the report.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Are there any other questions? Not, do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the waiver to Section 5382B cul-de-sac length, approval of the rezoning from AG to R4, and approval of the preliminary plat subject to the 12 conditions in the recommendation report.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Before I vote, I just want to just reinforce what Eric said to those that are opposed to this. Is our position, the planning department's position, and our position is when people bring something before the board, it is to determine whether that is conceivable within the master plan and the overall plan for the city. And as Eric stated, covenants are not within our purview. We don't reinforce, we do not, back them or anything. They exist as an entity within the subdivision. And if there's any challenges to that usage that's proposed, then that is up to the subdivision to deal with that, not the city. And so with that in mind, then I will vote yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert? Yes. Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, next is item 12, KC 1026-034. The applicant is Lawrence Butler. Request is rezoning from GC to TOD3 MX. Location is 528 North 33rd Street. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Lawrence Butler, LT Butler Engineers, 4809 Northwest Radio Highway, for the applicant. Basically, this is a vacant lot that is going to be turned into a two-story duplex via administrative replat by the owner. Site plan review was submitted to the city and done, and we got comments back on in December of 25. And also, this owner is currently constructing two duplexes basically right around the corner at 3311 33 California Street. With that, here to answer any questions you may have.
Do you own the lot?
I do not.
You're going to acquire it, assuming you get approval.
No, this is for the owner is No Amin LLC. His name is Kital Bearded. I'm appearing on behalf of the applicant.
You're here for him?
Yes. I wish I was the owner, but I'm
not. Thank you. Are there any proponents that wish to speak? Proponents? Okay, none? Are there any opponents? Please come forward.
Martin Janicek, 520 North 33rd Street. I'm here representing the Neighborhood Business District, also the Neighborhood Association, which I am a past president of from just turning in 2025, so my term just ended. What does this say? Is there not PowerPoint?
Uh-oh, blue screen.
Okay, it's kind of froze up. My hope on this slideshow, maybe I X out.
You know, that's city property, so you got to pay for it.
Yeah. You won't get much from me. I don't think I did anything wrong. Okay. It's gonna be entertaining for you guys after today. Everything's gonna be kind of fun to see it.
We've got aerials here. We can look at it if that doesn't work. So.
Yeah, it's all on. Maybe it's rebooting. We just as in general, we're not opposed to development. We think this would be something in this lot would be fine. We don't have any issues with that. What we probably have an issue with is, and this is based on my, I got a letter in the mail. We would like to have talked to Kata, and we have in the past for other issues, years ago, over the years, but nothing negative. It's just about that site. But we would like to see something develop there. What we are basing our commentary on is what we saw this week. I went down to the city planning department and talked to Doug Thompson, and we saw the duplex and the plan, and we don't feel like that is a good use, or what we would like to see is a retail. At least the first floor would be retail. We don't mind apartments. We think that, you know, whatever you can do to make that, to add to the business district would be fine. Our business district is evolving. There is investment. There are people renovating properties. We have a whole list of businesses in Gifford Park. And this is the Gifford Park Business District. And we just would like to see it be retail. We think that's the best use for that site. We know that the site to the south will be the same way. We'll have retail and housing above that. The neighborhood is very active. We have, in the business district, we have something on Friday nights, and this has been going on for 20 years, called the Gifford Park Neighborhood Market. And that has been something that has reinvigorated the neighborhood, especially the business district. So when it first started 20 years ago, it started with one table, and over the years it's grown to over 35 tables. And there's no fees charged. It's all the tables and tents are supplied for all the vendors on a Friday night from 5 to 8, June through October. And it's added a lot of life to the neighborhood business district. And then that has also encouraged other people to come down and put businesses. And we have everything from 2 grocery stores. We have a laundry. We have an insurance company. We have the original California Tacos, which some of you may know. And then we also have Omaha Living, a holistic medicine herbalist that has a shop there. We have Merlin Cypress Coffee. And then we have the venerable California Bar, which has been there forever. The neighborhood is growing. There's some buildings that have been renovated, and there's a current building now, which I would have showed you some pictures of the old Burns building, and it's being transformed back to its original historic nature. And so we're not against development. We would like to have some time to speak with Kata, maybe Lawrence, and see if we can try to get some retail on that first floor, because we really do feel like not having retail in a business district just makes it for an empty, like a missing tooth in the continuation of what it was. And if you have any questions, I think that's pretty much what I was going to tell you. We have everything from a neighborhood market. We have something called Porch Fest that happens every year. That's also in the business district. And then we have a 33rd Friday, which is, if you count all the Fridays in the year and you get to the 33rd, that Friday on 33rd Street, they close it down. They have a big street block party. And that's all to kind of bring life back into the business district and make it a vibrant space for not only people in the neighborhood, but for surrounding areas as well. And one of the mantras that a lot of the people down there in the business district have always said, we want it to be the best neighborhood business district. We will never be a Blackstone or a Dundee and that's something we never want to be. We just want to be a good neighborhood district that serves the people, its services, and it's becoming that. It's actually very exciting to see what has changed over the last 20 years, and it's still evolving.
So Martin, other than the fact that you'd like to see retail in there, some retail in there, do you see any harm if it's not retail at all? Does it do any harm to the?
Well, I think, some of the photos I had, there are some questions in general. We don't know if it's been thought through very well. Maybe this is kind of getting rushed through on the owner's side. Maybe he wants to get it done quicker. But I know Kata's a smart guy, so I'm sure he would think about this too. There are some dumpsters on the west side of Danny's grocery store, and on the plan we saw, it showed an alley, and it's not an alley. Technically, it's not an alley. It's actually their service drive. And there's a dumpster along with a lot of the trash right there that services not only California Taco, which brings their waste, their restaurant waste and stuff. It also is for Danny to put his grocery store waste in. And we just don't see that as being a real viable parking area for somebody that might be in a duplex, if that's the intended location for parking. And then if that is parking, where does the dumpsters go? So do they get pushed out on the street, and then it becomes a public hazard and pedestrian, issue with trash and waste and people trying to mix right there. There's also a grease dumpster on the property that has to be relocated, and that grease dumpster is for California Tacos. So if that goes away, where does it go to in the neighborhood? Because there are no other spots, at least that we could find, or what's been the conversation so far on that. Those we think might hinder it if it's residential, along with some of the setbacks. It's probably not going to be the most pleasant place to live, but again, we're all for development. We just wish there was a little bit of retail in the front. So if it is second floor apartments, no problem.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sorry about that.
Martin, how is your relationship with the developer and Mr. Butler representing him?
Well, I talked to Lawrence when they did the duplexes about stormwater runoff back in, and I came down to the council, down to the planning board then. I've met him, from that project, came out, similar situation, came down to the planning board and asked to have that reviewed. I think we will, I hate to say this, but I think we will have some issues there with some of the storm runoff because the lot that I'm talking about does have water building in the summer. But this new one here, if it's duplexes, I am curious where the storm runoff will go on this one too, because it's gonna be gutters and downspouts if it's a duplex. And it'll just be onto our property, so. But Lawrence is a nice guy. Katah's a nice person. I know he's out of the country right now. I wish they would have reached out to us because I probably would have helped them. I'm an architect during the day. I would have pro bono probably give them some advice, but I know the planning department has some good people there too, Jed Moulton and Doug and all those guys too. So we just want to have a nice project that would be good for them and good for the business district and just brings that business district back up. That's what we really want, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other opponents that wish to speak?
Hi, Chris Foster, 3413 California Street. Real quick, I'm a Gifford Park Neighborhood Association board member and own some property down in the 33rd and California area. I live 5-6 houses to the west of this. And just to kind of echo what Martin mentioned, really more than anything, we're looking for more time, more conversation to make it a better development for everybody. So really kind of a layover and maybe even have some discussion with the neighborhood association and so forth. So aside from that, just wanted to back up what Martin had said in his letter to the planning department. Thanks.
I'm just, real quick question. I'm just looking at it in an aerial map here. And other than a few businesses that are along that quick California 33rd Street intersection there, it sure seems like most of the buildings that I'm looking at are residential. Would that be an accurate statement?
The 33rd in California?
You can go a block either way.
Yeah. It's very residential around there.
Yeah.
Which makes it unique for kind of a little mini Main Street. And over the years, we've had many, many problems. I've lived in the neighborhood for 40 years and was president back in 2000, 2001, and experienced some of the worst things you can imagine with, there was, in fact, apartments, and there was a couple houses that there were retail, and there were, we just think for a better business district moving forward, having retail at least on the first floor. And it's awesome to have residential on the second floor, but it just creates better traffic, just a better business district. So we're trying to be smart about it.
What kind of retail would you like to see?
Because just a variety that serves.
It's got to work for a retailer, right?
Right. Yeah, something that serves the neighborhood in particular. Maybe that's kind of a priority. We're a very walkable neighborhood. Very diverse ethnically, age-wise, profession-wise, a lot of students. So it's a real kind of melting pot. So it's kind of sky's the limit.
Okay.
I was just going to add, I know eventually we'll address kind of the zoning change and the ins and outs of it and what the recommendation is. But my understanding is there still could be ground floor retail with this zoning.
Yeah, I would.
So, I mean, he'll address it in a moment, but I think it's still not out of the question. It would just be, it's a zoning change is what's being asked for today.
Yep.
So, there's still a lot to go before everything's out of the ground, right?
Yep.
Good point. Thank you, Chris. No, we're good. We're good. Thank you. All right, any other opponents? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Eric? No.
Well, yeah, so before us is obviously a request for a zoning change. Currently, it's GC, General Commercial, proposed TOD3 MX, which is mix of uses, so it does allow certain commercial and residential uses, of course. You know, it's pretty basic. The site plan doesn't get locked down with the approval. Obviously, what is before us, you know, we want the planning board and the city council, of course, to have the most accurate information, so we don't want just dummy plans. But the fact of the matter, the plans could change, and TOD3MX is absolutely compliant with the master plan and what's designated for this area. So, you know, the rezoning is master plan compliant. It is appropriate. Sure, we encourage conversations to take place, but you could have a situation where a developer or property owner does not want to do a certain product, and you know the city has limitations on what can be required in a situation such as this when it is just a zoning request. So, you know, of course, we encourage conversations, but we do believe there's still ample time before city council for those conversations to take place. It does take some time for rezonings to get on a city council agenda, and then there are 3 readings. So, you know, staff, of course, is comfortable with the recommendation to move forward. So, that being said, staff recommends approval of the rezoning from GC to TOD3MX.
Why is there 3 readings, the city council? On
Whatever statute, state
Okay.
statute or city charter.
Just for this type of rezoning?
For rezonings. Yeah, it's on
Really?
agenda 3 times. A lot of our cases, for zoning matters, it takes multiple special use permits. It usually takes about 3 weeks as well, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I have a quick question for Lawrence. Yeah. Has there been an official neighborhood meeting or sit-down between you and the developer and the neighborhood association?
That's something that I probably should have did based on the last conversation,
Yes.
so there probably needs to be.
And you
But
guys
also-
would be open to that if we recommended
absolutely.
approval, but you have to have a neighborhood meeting before this goes to city council?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But also, I do want to speak to the ground floor retail. That was the initial thought, was to have the ground floor be a retail, and maybe the second story be a unit. The issue the owner was having was budgetary, and then who are you going to put in there? Because that might sit for a couple years, and it might be great for the neighborhood, but the building sits vacant for that time. So that's also a consideration.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
and I think it'd be good just to get everyone together. You know, everybody has property rights. Neighbors are not allowed to tell a property owner what to do, but I think it's good to get everybody together. So that's going to be my
That was probably
recommendation.
a misstep of me because I forgot, so, yes.
No worries.
Major recommendation. Okay, we have city recommendation. Do I have any other questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve the rezoning from GC to TOD3MX with the condition that the developer meet with the neighborhood association before going to city council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay, I think our final item here then is item 22, case C823-264. The applicant is Lance Paulson. The request is approval of a major amendment to a special use permit to allow scrap and salvage services in the HI district. Location is northeast of 28th Avenue and Deer Park Boulevard. May we hear from the applicant, please?
I'm Lance Paulson, 20308 Gretna. I'm the CEO for Crushing It.
Good afternoon. Daniel Pauly, 3555 Farnham Street, Omaha, Nebraska, with the Smith Pauly Law Firm, along with my colleague Aaron Hyen, who's also with me here today.
What was your first name again?
Daniel Pauly.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, representing the applicant.
Okay, who's going to speak?
So our application is to move or shorten up the buffer zone that's from our property to the nearest residential property. That's to accommodate additional space. mainly initiated by the sewer repairs that are going to be taking place on our property.
Excuse me, I would just add, this was done in conjunction with city staff and with working with the city to try to facilitate the repairs to this sewer line that's an 1890s, I believe, I'm not misstating that, sewer line that has now had a damaged piece on it. The entire line under our property has not collapsed, but there's a piece of it that has, and there's an easement zone that sits through there that we've been able to use for the last 15 years, I suppose. And part of our inventory has got to be relocated. The only way to relocate that on the property is to remove the current buffer zone and move it back. It's at 450 feet from residential properties. It needs to be moved to 300 feet. The idea is to do that permanently at this point because it's not clear, one, how long this repair is going to take, and it's also not clear how much access will need to be kept on a permanent basis within this easement that we've had now for all these years and that was there previously. There may have to be a new manhole cover and things like that to access the line now and in the future.
Makes sense. So Lance, we got some I don't know if anybody's here to speak as an opponent, but we got some correspondence here, lengthy correspondence about several violations of city orders that were ignored. Going back to 2025, various dates in 2025. Are you familiar with those?
I'm familiar with a couple. I wouldn't know about several, but a
Well,
couple.
one is Communication City Council members regarding 3/11/25 replat of the property. The communication documents continue and repeated violations included video proof of separation requirement violations, crushing it operated illegally for a majority of 2024 and ignored the work stop orders issued by the city planner.
Yeah, that's related to this buffer zone. The residential property distance to our storage area was 300 feet. We didn't interpret that as being a violation where to the storage material. We thought that was to our processing. Our processing was in excess of 450 feet as we planned and as it was stated in our special use permit. It was pointed out that 300 feet to storage, so we ended up moving all that material off over actually over this easement and around the whole rest of the property.
So it's not you ignored it, you just thought you were within the...
It was a misinterpretation on our part.
Yeah, because all these complaints are basically the separation
Sure.
issues. Okay. All right. I don't know if that person's here or not, so.
Well, I have a question. So you kind of indicated that you may still not fully understand the easement over the sewer. Is that something that you will be getting clarity on? I mean, yes, there's a repair you'll need to provide access to, but I mean, it should be explained to you if you don't have full understanding of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're working with city staff and city legal department to try to flesh that out. The issue has been that prior to our ownership of the property, it was used for a crushing operation. At that time, we acquired the property. There was a special use permit granted, which we're here to try to amend today for this purpose. And in that time, there has always been the allowance of our inventory to be stored over the top of this easement. Since that time, unbeknownst to anybody, there's an issue that arises with the sewer line. It's an 1890 sewers line. It's not the entire line, it's a small piece of it, but that has to be repaired. At this point, we have removed all of our inventory off of that. The question or the issue that arises is that the easement never allowed what's denoted as fill above the sewer line, or above the easement. We've taken the position that it's never been fill, it's our inventory that we move temporarily and sell, and it's been allowed to be there since inception of our ownership. Today, the city, I think, has entertained that they might like to look at changing the way that easement is written or clarifying that nothing can be over the top of it as opposed to whether that's fill or something else. The reality is if nothing's allowed over there, then about a third of our property becomes not usable. In addition to that, the city, and that's not what's before the city today, planning board today, but the city is looking to try to expand that easement by about 40 feet each way, 20 feet each way, 100 feet total from 60 today. Most likely temporarily for the repair, but potentially permanently in case this would arise again. So we'd like to work with the city to clarify that. There are certain ways that can be done to the mutual benefit of both us and the city. It might be that we clarify that access to the manhole covers to go over there have to always be accessible, which certainly can be done. It also may be that we have to clarify that our inventory can be done, but it has to be done in piles and more easily movable. But that is not, one, it's not before you today. Two, that is not clarified between us or the city at this point. We are trying to work with them to reach a resolution on that.
Related to what is before the city, Lance, have you incurred additional operating costs on a monthly basis following the unfortunate collapse of the sewer? And sorry for the troubles, but you've got an operational issue. Are you incurring additional costs in the meanwhile in advance of any easement here change?
I wouldn't say operating costs. We have been cooperating with the city, the sewer department. They've been bypass pumping around across our property.
Not related to the sewer issue, but related to your inventory issue and where it's located and what you're having to do in advance of getting this waiver.
Well, moving off the easement was an expense. It was an expense to move from that buffer zone that we didn't understand in the beginning, and now we're moving it again. So
that was just corrective action. But after the sewer collapse,
oh, no.
Did you have to move inventory to another parcel and then move it back?
No.
Why are you seeking this easement then?
Well, there's no space left on the property with the 450 buffer zone. We go back to 300 feet, and we can put the material that's no longer...
Because you've lost the space atop the sewer line. Is that the issue?
Yeah, that's right, if I may interject. The other part is that the repair hasn't actually commenced yet. So at this point, we've removed our inventory over the top of the easement, and that hasn't caused a huge disruption. There was cost, but I think we were able to do that.
So you've made accommodations, but nominal operating costs. You're not incurring huge expenses monthly, but you're still seeking this easement to make it better.
Not at this time, but the repair hasn't started, right? So the digging hasn't actually commenced to go down and repair the line. It's not known how long that's going to actually take, how invasive that will be, and if that begins and there's not a place to relocate operations to for the placement of the inventory on this amended buffer zone, then all of those things certainly would be an
So this
issue.
is a bit proactive.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
This was in conjunction with the city, again, to try to make sure that there was a reasonable path forward once final estimates came in for the repair and that process commenced.
Thank you.
So when do you think it will start then? Do you have any idea?
I don't know if we know that. I think the city's working with Hawkins Construction to try to get final bids on that. I think there's also questions at this point about what caused the damage and who bears ultimate responsibility, frankly. That's an elephant in the room that's out there, but we don't know that yet. That's going to require expert analysis to determine.
So I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but you got a fairly active operation out there that causes a lot of vibration, a lot of weight, and what have you. So
yeah, that sewer is approximately 30 feet deep. It's a 42-inch sewer, so I mean it's not that deep. But that's something yet to be determined. It is in our best interest to work with the city and get the repair done. We have no desire to hold up the repair, which is why we went ahead and started moving all the material off the easement, which was our obligation ahead of time. I would expect to make some arrangement with the city or Public Works to proceed to do the work, even if we don't have final determination on everything. We want them to get in, fix it, and get out.
So if you have to bear the cost of this, are you turning into your insurance company then? Is that how you're going to pay for it? Because it's going to be costly, I'm guessing.
I don't know if we can speak to that at this point. I mean, I would tell you that at this point, our analysis is that we don't believe we would bear the cost for it. But of course, we're not here to make that ultimate determination. There's a lot of expertise and analysis we've had done that say a diffused weight over this broad a span that caused such a small break in that is probably not at all related to the weight above the top of it, but to the fact that it's a infrastructure from 1890. There's only such a lifespan on that in a brick infrastructure. There's no additional damage that's happened to the line other than that one location. And there's damage to that line well beyond our property that suggests that this is a dilapidation of the entity itself or the structure itself, not because of the weight. But to your point, Mr. Chairman, without analysis of the experts, engineers, those kinds of things, nobody really knows that. At this point, I think the focus of both the city and our focus has been to get it repaired so that obviously they can continue the repair beyond that. But without the buffer zone, we can't do that. And this property, if it isn't allowed to continue as it is today, would revert to some of the things we've heard before as an example. Before this was a crushing site, this was a place of homelessness and other things like that. So this has been a benefit to the city to have our client there and have this business there that supports 200 plus employees and operates every day and generates tax operations for the city. We're just trying to make sure that this can be done in a prudent way with the city that allows everybody to accomplish the best thing that they can.
This is the old schooler elevator site?
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Lance, if our due diligence is correct, you purchased a home, or the business did, within eyesight to create a little bit of a buffer, I presume. But would you tell us in your own language why you purchased that
Well, we
parcel?
purchased that intending to request a change of zone and make that industrial just like it is on the east side of the street. We thought keep the buffer zone, it would just move by virtue of the change of zone. Preliminary discussions indicate that's not really a desire on the part of the city. So that's just employee housing, tenant housing, that we have a number of homes like that.
What purpose would you want to change that to if that other zoning issue were in the cards down the line?
Buffer zone from the nearest residential property would then move, so that distance would automatically move. We'd gain back that 150 feet naturally.
What would you do with the property?
The industrial property then?
No, the residence that's there.
We're extremely short of space on where we can facilitate like our equipment. So it could be a shop or a
Okay.
commercial area.
Thank you.
We do have an image. I know some of the technology is not working, but if the members would like to see what this
Are
looks
you able
like.
to, sorry, are you able to get us logged in, sir, from the building commission? No? Jesus.
We come prepared for all contingencies.
Well, while you bring that up, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that it's well communicated to you, or the understanding of the easement over the sewer. Because, yes, I understand it's an old sewer line, but what you call product, it could be also perceived as fill.
Well, if I could jump in for a
Yeah.
moment, there's a lot of questions about, the sewer that has been damaged, and really that's not the purpose of this meeting. So, as Mr. Polly stated, obviously we're here for the separation waiver. There are ongoing conversations with Law Department, Planning, and Public Works. The fact of the matter is there's been a sewer easement in place for a long time. My understanding is when this special use permit and plat came forward, there was a new easement to clarify language. I don't know all the reasoning, whether it was the language or whether there was documentation because it was so old. There was a new sewer easement that was signed by both the city and the applicant in 2024 regarding the sewer easement area. So conversations can happen of whether that language is clear or not, and I've been in, a few of those meetings. So, that's a separate side matter, so I just want to reiterate that. And obviously the city, I don't know what all conversations law or the sewer maintenance section have had with the applicant, so we'll continue to work with them on that, just as those ongoing issues. But I just want to reiterate, we're here really for the separation waiver, which, obviously it's impacted because taking rubble off the sewer area. So just wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Eric. And I guess I would just say, to clarify from our position, no, we are not clear on exactly the implication of the easement at this point. The easement has been used by us for storage since its inception, and since the new easement was done, and that was in conjunction with the city. The city knew that. They've known that we were doing that. They actually instructed us at one point to move more product to there when we removed ourselves from the current buffer zone. But that's not what we're here for today. That is something we look forward to working with the city to try to clarify. The reason I think it's relevant today is that the easement, in particular the city's intention or hope or desire that's been articulated to us to get expanded easement locations, does become relevant in the comprehensive site. And one of the areas that will be done or necessary as part of this, if we get this amended special use permit with the buffer zone, is that we also have to submit a new site plan. Submitting that new site plan for the whole area will require us to acknowledge what is going to happen with the easement, if it'll be expanded, and what that looks like. So while it's not before the city today or planning today, it is very much an important part of ultimately this process that'll have to be undertaken before this goes to city council. So I appreciate the question. And again, we have an aerial here today that depicts it. If you have any questions about it, we're happy to talk through it. On the top left there shows in the red line what the new buffer zone would be on the 300 feet from residential versus the 450, which is the blue line. You can see our product placement throughout the property, and you can see the easement zone in there. And then the two boundaries on the left and right on the east and west represent the city's current proposed request to us, as stated to us, to have a temporary expansion of our easement of about 20 feet on each side. But that has still not been fully clarified between us and the city as to what the need is, what the intent is there. Back to trying to setting aside the question of where ultimate responsibility bears for the cost of this repair. There is, we believe, a path forward working with the city with respect to the easement, but that requires, as stated by city staff, that requires collaboration probably on the legal side to figure out what that would look like and then present some kind of a proposal back to planning and also city council for what the parties might be willing to do there.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Are there any other proponents that wish to speak? Any opponents? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Eric?
Yeah, so, this site had previously received a waiver of the separation requirement that's laid out in section 55766B3. So that code requirement typically requires a 300-foot distance from property to property line of a scrap and salvage use from any property zoned agriculture, residential, or office zoning district. The original ZBA waiver was actually for a property further to the south along 28th Avenue, when the original site included the entirety of the subject site as well as the Hawkins property. That original residential property is further than 300 feet now with the actual subject site boundaries, so the nearest property is to the northwest, which is owned by the applicant. So similar to other cases that are outlined in the recommendation report, there's 5 or 6 that are listed. Staff has recommended a reduction of that waiver to the actual operation or storage of material. So that is the reasoning that we are supportive and to try to help fit this product in an appropriate site that is still recognition of the adjacent residential properties. I just had one correction. I'm not here to go back and forth, but Mr. Polly had stated that city staff had told them or recommended to move product to the sewer easement area. That is not true. So I just wanted to state that for the record. So unless there's any questions, staff recommends approval of the major amendment to the special use permit to allow scrap and salvage services in the HI district subject to the 11 conditions in the report.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Considering, that we got this list of violations that apparently the person had indicated were ignored, I think it would be make sure that you comply with the requirements of the separation agreement going forward. So I just bring that up just so you're aware of it, okay? Because if they file a complaint again, the city's gonna have to come out and take a look at it and see what it's all about. So just a bit of caution there. Okay, any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the major amendment to the special use permit, case C8 23264.
You got several other items in there you need to refer to. In the recommendation. Don't you?
Subject to the conditions in the recommendation. Coordinate with the city on an acceptable revised site plan.
No, just to refer to how many there are.
11.
Yeah. So would you
Subject to the 11 recommendations.
John, why don't you just reread the motion, please? With those 11, not including, just say including the 11 recommendations.
Including the 11.
No, just read it from the beginning, the recommendation. The approval of.
Start over.
Yeah. Approval of the major amendment to the special use permit to allow scrap and salvage in the HI district, subject to meeting the 11 conditions recommended.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sotolongo?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Okay, that's all of our items. I will now entertain a motion to approve the pre-meeting and public meeting minutes from our January meeting.
Motion to approve the pre-meeting and public meeting minutes from the January 2026 meeting.
I have a motion and a second. Kathy, please record the vote.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Abstain.
Sotolongo? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Approved 5-0.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Kathy, please record the vote.
Rupert? Morris?
Yes.
Rosacker?
Yes.
Sotolongo? Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Chair? Approved 6-0.
What's in Gretna?